Hello, our group is about deaf and blind, a completely different world. Uh, I'm Seth Peavy, and there's the first thing. Usher syndrome. Usher's is the most common condition for people who are blind and deaf. There are two major symptoms. First, hearing loss, and then retinitis pigmentosa, which is also called RP, which RP is when the retina of the eye degenerates over time. It starts out by causing night blindness, so at night people will, they can't see as well, and then also tunnel vision. So their peripheral vision starts to go first, and then it's complete sight's gone. There are three different types of Usher syndrome, type 1, 2, and 3. Type 1 is the most severe case of Usher syndrome. This is when children are born profoundly deaf, and because of balance having to do with your ears, they have severe balance problems whenever they're born. So they can't walk to begin with, and they usually don't walk independently before 18 months. About the age of 10, they start losing their vision. So like I said, the RP starts closing in on them, and they lose their vision. And usually by their 20s, they're completely blind. Type 2 is when children are born moderately deaf. It's kind of in between 1 and 3. Children are born moderately deaf. They are given hearing aids most of the time whenever they're born. And with hearing aids, they're able to hear normally and communicate with their voice. Also with type 2, they have normal balance, whereas type 1, they can't walk really well. Type 2, they're normal, they can walk fine. And they begin to lose their vision later on, whereas type 1 is 10 years. Type 2, they lose it 14, 15, start losing it there, and by early adulthood, they can be completely blind. Type 3 is kind of the least worst type of Usher syndrome. They have normal hearing at birth and normal to near balance at birth, so they can appear to be a completely healthy child at birth. And then as time goes on, they lose their hearing and their sight, and this usually starts in their teenage years, and by adulthood they can be either completely deaf or completely blind. And type 3 varies greatly in severity. So someone they can go completely blind early in life, but then you'll have someone who has type 3 who will go blind later on in life, say the 50s or so. All right. Usher syndrome, it is a genetic disorder, which means that it's located on the genes, and it can be inherited from your parents. It is autosomal recessive, which means that both of your parents, if neither one of them have Ushers, they have to be carriers. Both have to be carriers. You can see this from this picture here, and as you know from biology, the mother and father, one's a carrier, has one Usher syndrome, and the other one is a carrier as well. So the probability of having a child with Ushers is 1 in 4. And then you have a 50% chance of having one that is a carrier, like the parents are, and then a 25% chance that your child shows no shines or has no genes for Ushers. Currently, there's no way to know if you're a carrier of Ushers, so it's just kind of good to see from your offspring. Treatment. There currently is no cure for Usher syndrome, so they just have to treat it in different ways. The first way that they try to do that is early identification. Every baby is checked from birth with an ABR or a different type of brain response test to see if they're deaf, or many different vision tests to see if they can see or not. Then another type of treatment, if they do have Ushers, is hearing aids. Like I said, with type 1, they can hear and speak orally fine with hearing aids. Then assisted listening devices that just helps them hear better. And then cochlear implants they can be given at the beginning of birth. Another thing that's kind of new age is a very high doses of vitamin A. Some doctors believe that that a lot of vitamin A will slow the process of RP, but it will not halt it. So in other words, it may just prolong the time that you can see. You will eventually go blind, but you'll be able to see longer.
Okay, deaf and blind people, the first person they found that was deaf and blind was Laura Brigman. Samuel Gridley Howe found her. He's the director of the Perkins School for the Blind. And whenever they found her, they decided to take her to this school where she could learn how to interact with other kids and be able to speak and communicate. And the way they did this was they gave each student their own teacher eventually, and they would work with them, teach them sign language, and be able to be in a normal classroom. But at first, Laura had to learn that objects actually had a meaning, like they had words that were accompanying with them. And so he used raised letters, labels on spoons or keys, and she realized, by doing this, she realized that they had names, and so then she was put into a regular classroom. And this was used for many years, and then Anne Sullivan and Sophia K. Alcorn and Ines Hall found other creative ways to help the deaf and blind. Anne Sullivan, she taught Helen Keller how to communicate with other people. She used creative methods. She asked Helen what she would want to do, what she wanted to learn. So then she used this to base her lesson off of. And then Maria Montessori said that this was the Montessori method. She later came up with this method for her Montessori school. And this way people are enjoying what they're doing, and it's not just a chore to have to do it, and they're not as frustrated. And then Sophia K. Alcorn and Ines Hall, they came up with the Tadoma method. It's where the students, they learn oral speech, and then you put your hand to listen to the speaker's face, and you can feel the vibration of the vocal cords and their lips moving and the air movement. And this way they can learn how to actually speak. And then now the Perkins School for the Blind uses all of these methods to help people become active in the community. And they have an individual education plan to make them have goals and be able to accomplish everything that they want to. And now in Georgia, the Helen Keller National Center for Deaf, Blind Youth, and Adults provides students with a place to go. And they actually have dorms, and they to teach the deaf and the blind.